slightly bigger topic, not just,
Hmm.
I guess, not just a your story topic, although I'd love to hear your experiences on this. And if I'm honest, a topic I wished I wasn't bringing up, but
Yeah.
because I don't think we should, it should just be very normalized. However, I think it's important to have the conversation to kind of shine a light on it to see where things can improve in that area, and that's female coaches, the respect that female coaches get or don't get, the opportunities that female coaches get or don't get. Is that something that what's your experience been of that? Because I guess outside of you, Amelie Mauresmo, and I don't know if the news is true, but Hercats apparently has just taken on Radwanska as his coach. No, I don't think that's been confirmed. We really haven't had that blend of male player, female coach, but we also haven't had actually that much of female player and female coach, you know. So what's been your experience around that? Is that just the way it is and it's situational? Is
Yeah.
that no, it's actually discriminatory? It's what have you experienced within that?
I think it's really interesting because outside of sort of, I guess, performance, a lot of the stuff that I do is regional county kids. Parents really respect being a female coach and maybe the slightly different approach, different qualities that female coaches bring. On tour, I think it's very difficult. I think people are looking for more bang for their buck, essentially. So a lot of the time, you'll see female players essentially hiring hitters.
Yeah.
Maybe that they don't necessarily they don't cost the earth. They're willing to travel a lot, so a lot of young guys are traveling on tour with top female players essentially because of that. But one thing I have started to see is a lot more, especially in the British teams. You've got Harriet working with Olga Morozova, you've got Katie working with Biliana.
Katie, that's
So
right. Yeah.
it's starting to change, and I think there's starting to be more value on female coaches. But I think it's incredibly difficult. I know, and as an organisation, the LTA are trying to make they're trying to implement change. They're running lots of programs. I do lots of mentoring on the sort of female side, but it is difficult. I was at the level 4 recently, and there were 3 female coaches, and I think it was 13 men. So it's very hard to compete with those numbers. But also, I think coaching has to be more attractive for female coaches. There's got to be ways around it. At my age, so I'm 34. I would love to coach more than I do. I coach sort of 10, 12 hours a week at the moment, but I've got a family and I need to make that work also. So I think it's incredibly difficult. I found it very, very hard in terms of, to gain a role in this country with the level that I've played at, the level I've coached at. I've hit a lot of barriers, and I think
Have
that's
you,
yeah,
if
without a
you,
doubt.
and if you hit those
Yeah,
barriers because of, so you make the point that I certainly see, and again, this is a bigger, it's a bigger thing, like because the question goes in my head, well, why does the woman have to be the one that's at home with the child, and
yeah,
you know
absolutely. I
like,
agree with that. Yeah,
and that and
absolutely.
that's kind of society
Yeah,
to a degree, and that's going into a whole other topic, but. That would be if anyone asked me on this.
yeah,
Firstly, I'd probably say, you know what, I'm not probably qualified on this answer because I don't want to just start assuming that this
yeah,
is what people
yeah,
experience. But my guess would be that's a major part. So if I think of some of I've worked with a lot of amazing coaches over the years, and quite a few of them have been females, quite a few of them have been males, but hardly any of those females are still coaching.
yeah,
Really hardly any. And and I talk about the academy, and I would I would absolutely love to have a different, I'd love to have female coaches, love to have male coaches, but I'd love to be able to have the different way of viewing things and, having conversations and, people to have different role models and, all of that. We really hardly ever get any females that apply. But in terms
Yeah.
of, but I guess what the job entails to come to somewhere like sort of tennis tends to be moving countries. It's a big old ask. So my question to you is, are the barriers through your life, are those the barriers, or do you feel the barriers have been through maybe that you haven't been respected as a woman for the role?
It's a combination. I think it's a combination of things. I think, when we look at sort of, I guess when you look at sort of older coaches, older male coaches, I think it's culturally as well. So men are quite happy to hit with other men. I've seen, like on tour, you'll see guys hitting with guys, and you'll see the coach standing at the back quite often. Whereas on the WTA tour, quite often you'll see the coach actually playing with that player. So the value tends to be more on the level of hitting standard, the playing standard, almost rather than the actual expertise that they bring.
Yeah,
So this is where it becomes quite difficult, I think, for to coach in that sense. I think the guys have kind of got it right, so they play together a lot, and it's getting better on the women's tour. It is, because I've seen people are actively hiring people now for their expertise rather than the hitter that costs
yeah,
half as much and can hit and do everything. Essentially give you some advice, but it is also the fact that I haven't really had any opportunities. I think a lot of people, especially guys, I always pitch this. There's another person who I've worked with that if we were blokes, we would have been, snapped up essentially for different roles based on our playing careers.
yeah.
But it's very different when you're a female. I think those opportunities are almost few and far between. But we do bring a completely different perspective. I've played, I think, like you say, the role models is incredibly important. And I know that the LTA are trying to make a shift to get more females, to keep them. But
Are
I
they?
think
Are
there's,
they? Are they? Or are they just? It's a free world. I'll say this. It's
yeah,
nobody's. I spoke to Judy in Australia this year, and I know she's obviously been a big campaigner of,
yeah,
various different campaigns that she's had going and getting it going. But I know she was highly frustrated, and
yeah,
she was helping out with a similar campaign in Australia, and was saying actually what a great job they were doing. She felt it was the enthusiasm to do it for the right to
the
do it
right
for the right
reasons.
reasons, not just to tick a box. And
Yeah, I get that.
that's not quote unquote what Judy said, but that was my
Yeah.
interpretation. That was my interpretation of the situation.